Scholar literally has an upside down difficulty curve, while Vanilla has the smoothest difficulty curve I've seen. So they made the early game levels easier to prepare you for the harder endgame levels.
In my previous videos, I already covered how false is claimed that the Forest of Fallen Giants is harder than Scholar is. In reality, the Forest had more ganks in Vanilla, and Scholar nerfed the last giant. And then I covered how wrong he was about No Man's Wharf being gankier in Scholar. And then I also showed how Heights Tower is not a harder early game area just because the optional half turned into a tree sentinel lesson that's meant to be a mid-game area. In this video, I'm going to focus on the next early game area by talking about Lost Bastille. First, I'm going to show the path to the Ruin Sentinels in Vanilla. People that only played Scholar might wonder where the dog came from, but there's simply a few of those here in Vanilla that got removed in Scholar. Notice how the three to the left aggro first. You can shoot at one from the outside. Now let us take a look at this path in Scholar. There's less dogs, and more explosive barrels you can utilize here. There's two Royal Swordsmen here. I will get back to their importance later. In Scholar, there's an explosive barrel you can shoot with fire arrows that deals heavy damage to the three enemies. The order in which you get attacked is easier to handle. There is another explosive barrel here that makes it easier to deal with the three Royal Swordsmen. The runback in Vanilla is a bit more annoying, as you have to worry about the dog attacking you right as you want to jump. In Scholar, you have more time to line it up, which makes it less likely to mess it up. You might have noticed that I was using the craftsman's hammer. In vanilla, you need to make it all the way up to Iron Keep before McDuff becomes available. In Scholar, you will already have the dull ember when you reach him.
So, right now, you've got stones, I pray.
Which gives you access to some good weapons like the Bastard Sword, unlimited supply of large Titanite shards and infusions, way earlier than in vanilla. You also get the Craftsman's Hammer and a Twinkling Titanite. Up to now, you might have found weapons like the Morning Star with 110 base attack rating. The Hand Axe with 135 AR. Or the Fire Long Sword with a split 160 AR. The Craftsman's Hammer with 166 AR is the strongest weapon you've found so far. It deals a lot of damage against the Ruin Sentinels. So the early access of this weapon makes it easier to defeat the Ruin Sentinels, and it also helps new players to realize that damage types matter. It's also strong against the optional Pursuer encounters. Defeating these Pursuers grants 6,000 souls and early Twinkling Titanite, which helps you to get even stronger, especially compared to vanilla, where there is no good early source for Twinkling Titanite. Even at just +1 in minimum strength to two-handed, this hammer already is good enough to let you handle the gargoyles. But they are also more optional in the Scholar Edition, as vanilla requires you to defeat them to gain the Bastille Key. In Scholar, if you want to make the Lost Sinner fight easier, you just have to defeat the Ruin Sentinels. As you will find the Bastille Key right afterwards. And as I have explained in my video about the petrified statues, it is also more obvious in the Scholar Edition that the Ruin Sentinels are optional, as players are encouraged to explore No Man's Wharf first to discover one of the early fragrant branches. So players in Scholar are less likely to get stuck at the Ruin Sentinels, but if they do want to fight them early, they will have stronger weapons than vanilla players. The earlier access to McDuff lets them upgrade weapons to +6 easily, and they get access to infusion stones much earlier than in vanilla. There are also invisible hollows spread throughout Scholar that you can trade with the crows. As I've covered in another video, you also get earlier access to fragrant branches, so Scholar lets you unpetrify Straid, access shaded woods and also fight against the Ruin Sentinels, long before vanilla would have given you the chance to even access either shaded woods or Straid. Which means you also get earlier access to boss soul weapons. Straid is another good example, where vanilla is just way more annoying as you always have to fight the exploding hollows before you can talk with him. In Scholar, they just stand around passively. There is also another vanilla ambush close by that is missing in Scholar. Scholar, there's no unexpected explosive hollow gank chasing you up here.
Vanilla starts off easy so that new players can learn how to win multi-fights. The multi-fights gradually build up in difficulty so that a new player will be ready for the harder late game levels. In addition to the easier beginning areas teaching the player how to handle multi-fights, the easier enemy placement results in the player actually killing all of the enemies, which means that they will be a higher level for late game. Essentially, vanilla causes a positive feedback loop where the game is easy so I'm more inclined to fight all the enemies, and then I'm stronger to fight the more difficult multi-fights in endgame.
Not only do the pursuer encounters I've mentioned earlier allow you to get plenty of souls, Scholar generally has more optional encounters that let you farm souls easily, like the respawning ogre in the forest that grants 1,000 souls, which is a lot in the beginning. In other videos, I have already covered how vanilla has been throwing large groups of enemies at you from the very beginning, while Scholar slowly increased the amount of enemies that you have to fight at once. But now let us also take a look at another more specific example. In Scholar, you first encounter some solo royal swordsmen, which allows you to get familiar with their moveset. Then you encounter two of them at the same time. So if you do happen to run into this room and aggro a large amount of them at once, you will be better prepared for them. Also, pay close attention to the amount of enemies attacking me at the same time. It feels very relaxed as most of them wait in back and only a few attack at the same time. In vanilla, the first time you fight these enemies will probably be when you enter this room, so you haven't learned their moveset yet. Also, the group aggression is just a bit higher in vanilla, so if a group of enemies attacks you, more of them will attack you at the same time. The same is true for many other enemy types, like even the Elan Knights he showed while talking about this topic. In Scholar, your first few encounters with them are solo encounters. It takes quite some time before you might have to fight multiple of them at the same time. In vanilla, you will probably trigger two of them when you first walk across the bridge, so your first encounter with this new enemy type is already two of them attacking you. Here you can prevent the second one from aggroing, but that again requires more knowledge about aggro triggers than Scholar needs to fight the two inside here solo. Here again there would be a smarter way by taking the alternative path through the hidden wall, but let us pretend I'm a completely new player. So far there has only been group encounters against a new enemy type. So to summarize, no, the early game in Scholar isn't harder, and in reality you will get stronger faster and have more opportunities for early soul and upgrade material farming. Scholar is better at introducing new enemy types slowly, and unlike in vanilla, the multi-fights actually gradually build up in difficulty. And getting killed over and over at a bonfire while AFK also does not happen in Scholar.